Inside this bag is an absolute gem of a time capsule that you just won't want to miss. Hi and welcome back to the shed. In this video I'm taking a look at a Game Boy in a slightly different way. No modifications this time, just looking purely at a beautiful relic that brings me back to my childhood days. It's not my own childhood Game Boy, but it's certainly a representation of just what made it special to be a Game Boy owner at the time. There's obviously a lot of people very into collecting and buying mint in box items or having boxed consoles from their childhood to bring back those memories of Christmas mornings or birthdays and opening that prized console for the very first time. And there's certainly a lot of merit in that, but in terms of true nostalgia, what we really want to get back to is the everyday experience. We want something that just spurs us on to that excitement of what it was like to be an owner of those consoles at that time when we had no internet. Anyway, I'm going to sound old when I'm talking about what we didn't have, but you know, it was special to own them at the time. And at the time of the Game Boy's height of popularity, there was also a wealth of different random peripherals. There was a whole wealth of different games, not just your Marios and your Pokemons and your Tetris and your Kirby's, but all sorts of random quirky third-party titles. Some that didn't even qualify as games were in people's collections, because back then you didn't scour eBay to find what you got. You'd just see what was in the local shop or see what aunties, uncles, relatives would kindly buy you for your birthday or Christmas, and people generally ended up with an eclectic mix of games, the likes of which you will see in this bag here. And this is the thing, the bag itself is something that takes me back. I've got an obsession with carry cases. I've got a whole host of different Game Boy carry cases, so I might show you some more in future, but this one here is what I'm focusing on at the moment. And the special thing about this is that everything in it is what has always been in it. When this case came into my possession and I opened it up, I couldn't believe what was inside, and I just really wanted to share that with you for this video this week, and see if you get as excited about it as I do. Probably not, but anyway, take a look and see what you think. So unlike many bundles I've got my hands on over the years, the contents of this very tasteful black and purple 90s style Case Logic Game Boy bag, it's just like a whole little time capsule of console ownership at the time of the Game Boy's heyday, and I just couldn't bring myself to separate it, so I've kept it all in its bag and occasionally played with it here and there. But I just wanted to share with you the magic that is inside this bag, and indeed the bag itself. I've always had a fascination with these different carry cases. There's so many different ones you've been able to get for the Game Boy over the years, but really let's just take a look at what is inside this and why I wanted to keep it exactly as it is. First and foremost, of course, this is a Game Boy carry case, so it contains a Game Boy. But not only that, just look at this. It really is like the most pristine original Game Boy I have seen in a long time. I've not even given this a clean up. I've not replaced the lens, nothing. This is exactly as it is, and it's very, very similar to as it was. If you open up the back and look inside the little bit here where you can see what model it is, it's actually a CPU 08, so one of the later releases. But still, like, the grey is still very light grey. The print on the front is still absolutely mint, and the screen inside, yep, no backlight, is completely original, and the sound is working too. So as far as consoles go, this is one of the things about when you get hold of a console, whether it's on a car boot sale or from eBay or whatever else, if the owner had a carry case, usually you're going to get a really, really nice console. And in this case, I mean, this is the nicest one I own. I'm definitely not going to mod this. I think it's so easy to mod Game Boys now from broken parts. You basically just need the rear motherboard now. There's absolutely no reason to butcher something this beautiful. Anyway, let's take a look at what else is in here. So, crazy gadgets ahoy. We've also got the Game Genie, which was used for cheating on your games by putting codes in. So we'll have a little look at that in a bit. Condition of this is generally pretty good. A little bit of the text is worn off here, but it's even got, there's like a little compartment that opens up, and there's a little booklet programming manual inside it. And in there you've got various codes for lots of different games. So if I was playing, let's say, I know I always default to Tetris, but it's bound to be in here, isn't it? So inside this tiny little booklet, we've got some codes for Tetris. So there's a code of 01A, 8BE, 7FE. Need 1 line to finish game B, or you need 10 lines to finish game B. So it adds a whole extra layer to your stuff. There's immunity from other players' Tetrises on the 2-player game. So if another person gets 4 at once, it's not going to have any effect on you. It's a crazy little gadget, but the fact that there's a little booklet and there's a little compartment for the booklet, I just love it. And this slots inside the console itself like that. And then you put the cartridge in the top there, and you've got your cheat machine. So that is the Game Genie, and I'll just separate those two. And then what else have we got inside the box? So there is also a power adapter. Okay, so this is made by Newbie, or possibly Nubby. I've always thought it was Newbie, but we had various arguments at school about which one it was. But this is made by Newbie, and it's a UK plug, and the other end will plug into the DC 6-volt power input on the side there, so you could run it plugged into the mains instead of powering it from your 4 AA batteries. So definitely a handy accessory if you wanted to play without your power running out. That's it for in here, and there's, like, as was often the case with these sort of cases, no pun intended, there's like a soft fabric inside with like a little Velcro separator, so you can have a little divider, so the Game Boy goes here and the power adapter and the Game Genie were in the other side. So let's see what we've got in this section here. This is where the games reside. So if I open up a little bit more, you'll see that there are compartments for individual games. This is where it goes from what looks like an initially quite generic satchel to inside you've got compartments that are specifically the right size for the games to fit in. And in here, there is an awesome little collection of games. So we've got 3 loose ones. There's room for any loose ones there, but there are 6 compartments for individual games where they've slotted in to those little pockets. So we'll get all of those out and take a look at what we've got there. And then in an absolutely wonderful turn of events, there's also a little pocket here for keeping the instruction manuals, and guess what, we've got a whole wedge of instruction manuals for all of the games in here too, and we've got the instruction manual for our Game Genie. And then in the front, well, I'll tell you what, I want to show you what's in the front later. We'll save that. Okay, let's just take a little look at what games we've got. So I do have the manual for each individual one, but the thing about the games here, okay, is that as collectors now, it's like well known which are the games to have, and we fondly remember kind of having games like Super Mario Land or Wario Land or Tetris, but truth is, when we were young and we had Game Boys, we were at the mercy of whoever was buying us games or whatever the shops had in stock. So individual gamers had quite quirky selections of games, and I use the term game very loosely. So nearly every Game Boy came with Tetris. Obviously that is an essential, but in this pile we've got some absolute gems and some absolute stinkers, and that was what most collections were like. So let's see what we've got. Centipede with some absolutely awesome cover art. Let's just take a little look at the label art there. Some reason there's a little guy with a lightsaber there, no idea why. We've got Daffy Duck, Duck Dodgers game. And this is where we're at the mercy of you know, grandparents buying people games and things. Info Genius, Spell Checker and Calculator, a must have for every Game Boy owner. There is Soccer. Yep. R-Type 2. Like I say, there are gems in this bag, and that is one absolutely awesome game. Jurassic Park, because everyone loves a movie tie-in. There we go, Jurassic Park there. Addams Family, Pugsley's Scavenger Hunt. And finally, at the bottom of the pile, another awesome original Nintendo title, Mario and Yoshi. So it is quite a eclectic mix, and as I say, we've got the manual for each one. We've got Centipede, Soccer, Daffy Duck, Spell checker, R-Type 2, Tetris, Pugly's Scavenger Hunt, and of course the owner manual for the Game Boy itself. Mario and Yoshi, Jurassic Park, and for some reason another copy of the Tetris manual. So having all of these and being able to look through at the sort of very basic bits of information on the kind of screenshots that were clearly like photographs taken from the screen. Some of these are a little more interesting to look through than others. But in general, it's a way to absolutely immerse yourself in the nostalgia. I think we'll often have access to the games, but it's rare to have the manuals, and certainly not the actual manual for every single game. So you can see why I wanted to keep this little bundle together. And finally, I mentioned the front pocket. Now, don't get too excited. It depends how much of a nerd you are as to whether you'll find this exciting. But for me, when I opened this up, I was finding it exciting. There is the original DMG 04 link cable for connecting two Game Boys together for multiplayer Tetris and so on. But the real jewel in the crown is this. It's a cheap pair of headphones, yes, but it's the original in-ear headphones that came with the Game Boy at launch, and they are still intact and they are still in pretty much mint condition. So within the one case that came into my possession, I have got the most beautiful... Let's just polish off that screen a little bit because it's kind of attracted a little bit of dust. There is the most gorgeous Game Boy console with its original headphones and the link cable and this bonkers piece of kit and a stack of really kind of quirky mix of games. So let's take a little look at cheating on one of these games. So we'll get Tetris and we will plug that into our Game Genie. Oh, I think they have to go this way around. Okay, so you put them in with the label facing away from you. We'll plug that into our console and we will switch on. So that is booting and it's a little bit messy. If you've ever got the screen all distorted like that, you'll know what to do. Try again. And now we've got our perfect logo. I know a lot of people say, don't blow into them, you'll destroy them. But I have saved enough Game Boys over the years not to lose too much sleep over any potential destruction. So we've brought up our code screen, okay, and we can turn codes on or off. If we want to, we could disable that. But what we're going to do is get our manual out and find our cheat codes for Tetris game. So we're going to go with one line to finish game B. 01A. So 01A. Ooh, it plays a little tune for each note as well. 8BE. 7FE. And then how do we activate the code? Press start. And then it boots our game. So that's now booting up Tetris. And I'm going to just move my lamp to try and get it somewhere where you can see the screen. There we go. So we're going to have a go at game B. I'll just turn off the music for now. And we'll try it on level 9. High 5. See if we can manage to get one line and we might be able to finish it. And there we go. We got one line and now we've completed game B. Well, that was satisfying. I mean, it's cool. It works. So yeah, the Game Genie still works. We've still got the little booklet with the codes, so it's surprising to have that with it. And as a bundle, I don't know. I think I'll just turn our volume down a bit there. You can just see that having something like this is very different to the usual like list of all the favorites of your Mario Lands and your Pokemons and everything else. Most Game Boy owners of the time had a much more quirky mix of games and accessories, and I think having it all inside that box, like I say, it's like a little time capsule, isn't it? And I'm planning to keep it that way. I think it's like a little museum piece. I love it. So I just wanted to share it with you today, and hopefully you enjoyed my little guided tour of Retro Tat. And that's it, from R-Type 2 to spell checkers and calculators, from a mint condition original Nintendo Game Boy to the rather random Game Genie. There is just something for everyone in this case here. I hope you see what I mean in terms of how it just captures the era. Right from the purples and blacks of the case, you know you're in for a retro treat when you open it up. And having the manuals, that little piece of literature, documentation of the era, as well as the console in perfect condition. This is the thing, if you manage to find a second-hand console in the wild and it's in a carry case, chances are you've probably got your hands on a good one. So that is what I got in this case. But really, the first time I ever opened this up, I knew it was something special. And I know I do a lot of Game Boy modifications and I collect games, and I've got a whole game collection, but I didn't even want to merge the games from this case into my own collection. I thought it was important to keep it together. So the games that are in this case are the games that were in this case. They're the games that were played on this Game Boy. The Game Genie was used to cheat at all these different games. I just think it would have been a shame to separate it. And I think that as time goes on and more people are getting into Game Boy modding, things like this are becoming rarer and rarer. And yes, we get some mint ones in the box with the packaging and everything else, but as I say, that was a one-off, that throwback to the time you were opening it on Christmas Day. But this, for me, is what's really special. This was the everyday ownership of these retro consoles and what that meant to me. So yeah, that's it. So that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed that little ride back to the early 90s through my magical Game Boy time capsule. Please, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, but comment. Let me know, what are your memories of the Game Boy if you were around back then? I know you're not all as old as I am. What were the quirky titles that were in your collection that nobody else seemed to have? How did you chance upon owning a particular classic game out of the blue? What were the random accessories that you had? I'd really like to know. And if you enjoyed this and you'd like to see more like this, again, let me know. I would appreciate that. Do share the video with anyone who you think might be interested in it. We are still growing the channel, and we have recently passed 5k in terms of subs. I am thrilled with that. So just thank you to all of you for all of your support through me creating these videos. I'm still made up that anybody actually watches them at all. So that's it from me. Thanks for watching. If there's more videos you want to like, there's some links popping up here. This is Joe Bleep signing off from the shed, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.